Right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are here to draw a full figure facing forward. And we're going to start off with the head. And since this is a video, you can pause this and rewind at any time if I go a little fast, because I am going to go quite rapidly through this, only because it is somewhat of a review. So, without further ado, we're going to start with the head shape. Now, for a full facing figure, the head length, the head height, is what we are going to use as a measurement to decide all of the proportions of the figure. So it starts with the head, and we are going to need, on this page, the ability to fit 7.5 heads, because 7.5 is the approximate head height measurement for an average human being. Now again, people are all sorts of shapes and sizes. You know, like Mr. Libby is probably about 8.5 heads tall. But everybody, you know, obviously different shapes and sizes, but this is going to be average human proportions here. So starting with the head, we are going to do a somewhat of an upside down egg shape for the head. And again, this is going to serve as basically the deciding factor for the rest of the proportions. So I'm going to make sure that this is a fairly good size, and making sure that you can fit 7.5 of them on the page. Now, you don't necessarily need a ruler. I'm going to use it just so I am a little more exact here. And it's about 1 3/4. I'm sorry, almost 1.5 is my head height. And I'm just going to mark those off real quick to give myself an estimation here of the entire figure. And I definitely want to make sure that I have enough room. So 7.5 of these. I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4. This is number 5 here, sorry. 5, 6, 7, and approximately half at the bottom. Okay, so this is it. I'm also going to put a little divider there. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. All right, and now we are going to use that head height to draw the rest of the figure here. Now I'm also going to put another guideline down immediately, and that's going to be the line of symmetry. This line goes all the way through the middle, all the way to the bottom. And since the forward-facing figure is symmetrical, we're going to use that to judge our left and right side, make sure they are the same. Now, for the next point, what we're going to do, I want you to put a mark at halfway of 2, halfway of the second head height. That is going to be almost like the clavicle, sort of the collarbone area. The neck is going to come down, and the shoulders are going to be in line with that. I've seen a bunch of different ways of making the shoulders, the width of them. The one that I find to be the most successful is taking one head width, going to each side and placing a mark, one head width to each side and placing a mark. I have to move my 2 there. It's in the way. So again, you're doing one width of one head and going to each side for the points of the shoulders. Now the points of the shoulders, they're not 90-degree angles, they are not shoulder pads, they are not linebackers. So we need to make sure that coming down from the head, the neck will come down. And when we focus in on drawing the face in the next video, then we will have the opportunity to really show you where the neck connects to the head. But coming straight down from there, we are going to then slope out to the shoulders. Again, it's not going to stop and then go in a right angle. It's going to slope downwards first, like this, on each side. And the one thing that you're going to have to do through this entire drawing is constantly comparing. You're going to make sure that when you get to the shoulders, if that looks too wide, then you can adjust. Since some of these in early stages do decide the rest of the proportions, you want to make sure that you're working with something that starts out looking proportional. If that looks off to you in your drawing, then adjust. You know, maybe it's not exactly one head width, maybe it's a little bit thinner, maybe it's a little bit thicker if you notice that your figure is immediately too thin. The next mark we're going to make is for the armpits. It's going to be just about on the second head height here, maybe a little higher. And it's going to be slightly in from the shoulder points. So I'm going just a little bit above the second head height in and just a little bit in from the shoulder points. And that's going to be serving as our armpits. Now I'm noticing already that my left side is a little further out than my right side, so I'm going to adjust. See, this is something you have to kind of learn to do as you go, adjusting, and you know, if you learn to adjust and make those adjustments as you go, then your figure will continue to be proportional. The next point we're going to do is for the waist. The waist is at the third head height. It's going to be slightly in from the armpits, so we're going to add that. Okay. Again, it still looks like there's a little more on the left side than the right side, but I think we're going to be okay. And you can go ahead and connect those. That's going to be, again, from the armpits to the waist. And we're going to come back and get those arms in just a second. We're going to make the points for the hips next. Points for the hips are going to be just above the fourth head height. So just above here, and again, almost kind of like equal with the armpits. So you're going to come back out for the hips. And again, just above 4, and pretty much equal with the armpits out there. So then you can go ahead and continue there. And this gives you that bit of an hourglass figure that the human figure is known for. Elbows. Elbows are going to be slightly above 3. Let's go back up and finish those arms before we continue on to the legs. Slightly above 3, so on 3 here for the waist, and then slightly above for the elbows. I'm going to put those pretty much straight down to the side. So slightly above the third head height here. I'm going to go out to the side for the elbows. And we're going to come down from there. We're going to come down straight like this. And again, this person's just standing straight ahead, facing forward with no real, no real interesting pose. Later on when we do figure drawings, we will be doing more with the pose and creating a little bit more as far as what the figure can do. Continuing on, let's do the hips to the knees next, and then we'll put our hands on our thighs, just right down there to the side. So hips to knees, here we go. We also have a line that would sort of delineate where the crotch would be of this figure. And that's right in line with the hips at 4. And that would serve as the groin area. And then coming down from the hips to the knees are going all the way down to halfway of 6. And I know that you may think that that looks kind of long, but the femur is the longest bone in the body. It's also probably the strongest bone in the body, I believe. I am an art teacher, not an anatomy teacher, but I do know a little bit about drawing the figure, drawing anatomy. And coming down from the hips straight down to the knees, and the knees probably would give you, you might see the kneecap there if you were drawing the actual figure, but we're going to keep going there. And we'll finish off the knees to the ankles in just a second. Let's pop back up for the hands here. Now the hands are going to come down just right down to the sides of this figure. We're not going to really add much detail to the forward-facing figure hands right now. We will cover hands in the side-facing figure. The side-facing figure, a little bit easier to see the hands. So let's continue on. The wrists are going to be on 4. So where the hips and the groin were a little bit above 4, the wrists are going to be on 4. And you may again think that this is too low for the wrists, but stand up, put your hands at your sides, and then look at where your wrists are, where in comparison to your hips. Your hip is slightly higher than that. So I had to stand up and check myself. So I'm going to make these wrists come down from the elbows here. And as you get down to the wrist is obviously the thinnest part of the arm, so you can decrease the width of the arm when you get to the wrist, okay? And then this person, again, putting their hands right next to their thighs as if they were checking the length of their skirt. And the tip of the finger is going to go down almost to 5 And again, you may think that this is kind of long, but I do challenge you to really look at the size of your hand when in comparison to other things on the body. The hand is just about as big as the visible face area if we weren't to count the hair. So that should be about how big the hand is. You can see that that does relate there. And what I'm going to do is, again, a very simplified hand. I'm just going to almost make like a slight spade shovel shape there with the hand, and the thumb is going to sort of just be out here in the front, about halfway down that hand. And again, this is just going to be hands by the side, nothing fancy right now. We're going to come back and do more realistic hands in the side-facing figure. So again, almost like that spade shovel shape, and then the thumb will join in. Again, simplified hand for now. We will do a more realistic hand later. Then from the knees all the way down to the ankles are going to be all the way down here at the bottom of 7, ladies and gentlemen. And this, again, this person's standing with their feet together, standing straight, facing forward, knees all the way down to the ankles, like so. Again, you might see kneecaps if we were to draw the actual figure here. And then we would have the feet. Now, again, this is going to be a simplified foot, and it's going to almost kind of look like a mermaid tail for now, but I will zoom in and show you exactly how to approach drawing the feet as well. So right now, that was a quick overview of the forward-facing figure. What I'd like to do real quick is the foot, and do a zoomed-in version over here so you can see what that might look like. Okay, as you get down to the foot, I'm going to be zooming on just this one right here. Okay, so over here, if this was where the foot came down, we have this shape. That's just, we're looking at just the right foot right here. The foot on the right, it would be this figure's left foot. So feet are a little awkward to draw, especially when they're coming forward, and then there's actually a term for this. The foot coming towards you, anything coming towards you in a drawing, is going to be called foreshortening. Foreshortening is when something comes straight at you, like a body part. If you were to draw a figure whose arm is extended outward, if that arm is coming right at you, then it is going to be foreshortened in the drawing. How do you do that? We will go over that later. But the hand, a quick overview, the hand size would become larger because it's closer to you. We covered that back in space, back in the elements and principles of art. Things that are closer to you are larger, so you can increase the size of the hand if it's coming towards you, and you would almost draw it as if a cylinder is laying down, larger when it gets closer to you, and then smaller as it goes away. But the toes coming forward may look something like this. They may increase in size only to make sure that it looks like the toes are coming forward. So I'm drawing the big toe first. Really just kind of a round shape there, and then they will decrease in size as you go back and, or to the out, go out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gotta make sure there's 5. And then you might see a little bit of the length of the toe as it gets, you know, as you go towards the center. If you want to include toenails, you may do that. Now, again, you don't have to draw bare feet. You can draw a shoe, and I'm going to cover that in a very quick way in just a second. So toenails coming towards you there. Now the foot shape is kind of triangular like this, but if you are drawing this a little too triangular, it might look like they're on their tippy toes. So behind there, you might even see the ball of the foot like this, and the heel. Now the heel might not be visible because it's being overlapped, but this shape of the foot will make for a nice shape there. There's also the knobs on the ankle that have, you know, I think that interior ligaments are connected there, so you may find that there is a bump on either side of the ankle. Now, what if you were drawing a foot that was not barefoot, that you might see shoe. So let's draw a shoe real quick. I'll do that immediately under here. And this is going to be for the same foot. If you were trying to do the other foot, you would just obviously do the mirror image of this. So, a sneaker. Let's draw a sneaker. I'm going to draw almost like a Converse Chuck Taylor shoe. And so the toe of the shoe would be like that coming towards you. The base, the sole of the shoe like this. May have overshot there with the corner. Then as that comes up, you might have the sections where the laces connect. I'm just going to do two rectangles right here like this. And those rectangles getting a little bit larger at the bottom because of course they're coming towards you. A tongue for the back there, tongue of the shoe. Maybe the sides just connecting like this. And then laces going right across. Again, this is a little bit simplified, but you get the idea. You can draw more details too if you'd like. I'm going to do a tie as well. And there you go. That's pretty much just a shoe coming towards you. Now it looks a little simplified, but you can again add some details, add some contour to make that look a little bit more realistic. Okay, that's where we're going to stop for now. And what I am going to focus on in the upcoming videos are the features of the face and how they are proportionally lined up, as well as the side-facing figure with a focus on the profile view and a more detailed human hand.